This is Hour of Light with Ose Saint Echo. We're dealing with offenses. And before I ask the next question, I want to read from the book of Matthew 18:7 to 9, which says, Woe unto the world because of offenses, for it must needs be that offenses come, but woe to the man by whom the offense cometh. 8. Wherefore, if thy hand or thy foot offend thee, cut them off and cast them from thee. It is better for thee to enter into life hot or maimed, rather than having 2 hands and 2 feet to be cast into everlasting life. 9. And if thine eye offend thee, pluck it out and cast it from thee. It is better for thee to enter into life with one eye, rather than having 2 eyes to be cast into hell fire. Praise God. So, Pastor, it's obvious this is not to be taken literally, but what did Jesus refer to here? That's one. Also, what was Jesus talking about in these verses we just read? And lastly, sir, what can we learn here about the nature of offenses?
All right. God bless you, Brother Reagan. Now, this category of offenses is a little bit different from the one we have been dealing with. The ones we've been dealing with actually are referred to as trespasses, not trespasses against God, trespasses against one another, offending trespasses. But this one, even though King James Version calls all of them offenses, is different from that. The Greek from which this one was translated, this thing translated offenses here, is actually from the Greek word scandalon. That is where the English word comes from, scandalize, scandals, to scandalize. So these offenses here is not talking about trespasses, stepping on the toes of one another. It's talking about something different entirely. It's talking about scandalizing. It's also another word for traps, for snares. So that along the line in our pursuit of God, in our pursuit of the service of God, of preaching, of being Christians, there are people who come into our lives to set traps for us, to put snares on our path, to cause us to trip and fall, whether physically or spiritually. And then that kind of falling and snaring, as a snaring, leads to scandals. It can be financial scandal, it can be sexual scandal, it can be marital scandal, it can be anything. So that is what the Lord is talking about here. And these people, because you see the way the Lord put it, he said, woe unto the world. This one is not talking about brothers. It's not talking about brothers. Woe unto the world because of offenses. For it must need that offenses scandalon will come. But woe to that man by whom the offense comes. That is, as we serve God, we will face scandals. We will fall. We will trip. We will fall. We will make mistakes. As children of God, we will do bad things. People will say things against us. He said, those things will come in this part of your faith. He said, but the people who make that to happen, I will punish them. That's what the Lord was saying. And then he now went on to say, usually, the people who are able to put snares on the path of your Christian journey are people that are closest to you. They know you. They operate by familiar spirits. They know you. They are close to you. They are your brothers or your sisters, your church members or people in your world. They are like that. They're the ones that can put obstacles on your path. Fellow countrymen. So they because they want to prove that you are not who you say you are, they deliberately allow you to fall into traps. And many men of God have fallen into those traps. Many Christians have fallen into those traps. So the Lord said, woe to them. I am going to deal with them. He said, but apart from me dealing with those people who deliberately want to put a snare, want to snare my people, you also, who is subject to those snares, you have a responsibility. And that responsibility is a responsibility of being wise enough to take yourself out of the realms of temptation. For example, when the disciples asked the Lord, teach us to pray, one of the things the Lord told them to say is, lead us not into temptation. But if the Lord is not leading you into temptation, are you leading yourself into temptation? He said, deliver us from the evil one. Are you exposing yourself to the evil one? So the Lord is saying, I will not lead you into temptation, but at the same time, I want you to not lead yourself into temptation. That is why he said, if in this journey of faith, you discover that your eyes, so it's not literal, discover that one of your eyes is the thing that will make you to fall. Your soul is more important than one eye. Pluck it out. What he's simply saying is that he's talking about relationships. Relationships in your life. And these relationships have to do with your family members, with your friends, with your colleagues. In fact, many of us see everybody, we say, oh, that's my friend, that's my friend, that's my friend. I've come to see that no one can really have more than 1 or 2 or 3 friends. In fact, if you have 3 friends, you're making a lot of trouble for yourself. It's not really possible to have too many friends. So all those people we call my friend, those are the things that lead us into trouble. They're your colleagues, they're your counterparts. They're not your friends. Friends are closer than the people we call friends. A friend is like a brother. Friend like a brother. So I'm being very careful these days, not to just say, oh, that person is my friend. No, I don't introduce everybody as my friends anymore because I don't have too many friends. In fact, there are even some of us who don't even have friends at all, because everybody around you, they are just your colleagues. Friendship is deeper. It's a deeper thing. So, but that will be a teaching for another time. But what the Lord is saying here is that even though I will deliver you, you also have to deliver yourself. There are some relationships you are in. Family relationships, friends, colleagues, people are around you who are a temptation to you. They put before you opportunities to do wrong. You vow to yourself and say, I will never fornicate again. But you are surrounded by fornicators. And every time you are exposed to it. You don't come out and say, hey, I'm a strong brother, I'm born again. No. You will be speaking in tongues and you'll be fornicating. Why? Because speaking in tongues does not prevent you from fornicating. It doesn't. Carrying the power of God does not prevent you from fornicating. In fact, many men of God that have gone into adultery and fornication got into it immediately after they finished holding a big miracle crusade. Because at that time, you have exercised so much power, and then you now feel so important and you lose God. That's how people fall. That's how people fall. Look at David. David fell at the peak of his calling. So the speaking in tongues, the gift of the Holy Spirit does not prevent you from fornicating. That is why there is only one solution to fornication. Flee. The Lord said, flee fornication. He didn't even say run. He said, flee. Flee is stronger than, to flee is stronger than to run. He said, flee. That means that don't stay in the same zone. Always consider yourself weak when it comes to that. Fornication is not a place you come and strike your hand and say, I'm a big brother, I'm a pastor, I'm an apostle. No. Apostles fornicate, prophets fornicate, church members fornicate, elders, deacons, they do that, they do it. Because those things don't keep you from it. So that is an area where a believer must always be weak. Don't allow your wife to trust you in that area. Put your wife in a position where she does not trust you, so that she will be able to constantly protect you and you protect her. You protect one another. But if you come with this idea that I'm a man of God, I'm strong, you don't have to care about me, by the time you realize you have already done what you don't want to do, and your faith will just continue to go down, you are making the shipwreck of your faith. That's why the Lord said, there are things you have to do some surgical operation. When he said pluck out, he was saying, do some surgery, cut it out. What does that mean? It means that there are some friends that are difficult to separate from. There are some family, filial relationships that are difficult to separate from. So through some spiritual surgical things, separate from them, because they will make you to fall. Any person that is not helping you to go forward will make you to go back. You are in a relationship. You have a boyfriend, you have a girlfriend. And this person, every time you are together, it makes you become weaker instead of being strong. Break that relationship. You don't need him. You don't need him. Don't come with this idea that a bird in hand is watering the bush. When God gives me another guy, I'll let no. And the way God does is, until you let this guy go, he won't give you another one. Let the person go. It's better you remain single for the rest of your life than to allow one person to come and lead you to hell. That is what he's talking about. Don't be a clinger. Don't cling too much to anybody. Don't cling too much to anybody. You have brothers, you have sisters, you were born by the same parents. That is good, but don't cling to them too much. And don't let them feel that you cling to them too much. If they are not going your direction, allow them to go their direction, go your own direction. You bear the same name, fine, but let everybody go their direction. Sometimes that is the only way out. It's painful, but it has to be done. It's painful, it has to be done. You can't drag every person along. If all of you are down, you can't take another person up. You have to always save yourself first before you can save others. Bible says to love your neighbor as you love yourself. How can a person that doesn't love himself even love his neighbor? So the Lord is not saying love your neighbor more than yourself. He said love your neighbor as you love yourself. That's why people who don't love themselves cannot necessarily love their neighbors. To love me is to love you. So that is how the world is. That's what the Lord is saying there. Talking about traps. He said, because offenses must come. There will be traps. There will be temptations. They will come. And they always come through the people that are closest to you. So he's simply saying, be careful. Don't be carried away by some fleshly deceptions. Father, in the name of Jesus, we just praise you today. Thank you. Thank you for helping us to go into your word. Thank you for blessing your people. Thank you for helping us to stay in the faith and maintain good conscience. And let your name be praised in us. In Jesus' mighty name.